Hey guys, this week we're going to tell you about the Wednesday Night Wars, about how AEW is going head to head against WWE, and a war this big hasn't happened since WCW Nitro took on WWE in the 90s.
What are the Monday Night Wars, you ask? So, back in the 90s, there were two giant wrestling companies, WCW and WWE, and they both were going right up against each other. They had their own show, WCW Nitro and WWE Raw, which would air at the same time on Monday nights, and they would battle it out basically right up against each other. So, now how they determined the winner was TV viewership, and which directly related to TV ratings. So whoever had the better, whichever broadcast, whichever show had the better ratings at the end of the night would be declared the winner for that week. And so that was, I mean, that went on for a bunch of years. And WCW, in fact, their show Nitro did win for 83 weeks in a row, which is pretty great. But eventually, WWE caught up. They did defeat them and ended up buying out Nitro and WCW and buying out the competition and eliminating them completely. And now, 20 years later, we have another show, AEW Dynamite, which ironically is on the same network as WCW Nitro. And it has started a whole new war with another show of WWE's, and which will now be the Wednesday Night Wars. And it's going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride, guys. So buckle up. And now returning to a regularly scheduled program.
Now, two shows are going to go head to head. AEW's Dynamite on TNT is going right up against WWE's NXT on the USA Network every Wednesday night, both shows battling it out for rating supremacy.
Yeah, and on July 24th, 2019, AEW announced that they will be airing their weekly show Dynamite on every Wednesday from October 2nd. Now, the following month in August, WWE announced that they will be shifting one of their shows, NXT, to the USA network from their own WWE network and expanding the show to a 2 hour broadcast and putting it up right against AEW's Dynamite, thereby trying to counter program AEW in a way.
But the fact of the matter is, you cannot counter program what AEW is doing. They have a show that's full of variety and they cater to all sorts of fans. You cannot counter program the love, the passion they have for the wrestling business, because this revolution will not be stopped. And this statement is true because the very first head to head between AEW's Dynamite against WWE's NXT, AEW drew 1.4 million viewers on October 2nd, whereas WWE's NXT drew 890,000. And not only that, AEW was number 2 in the 18 to 49 demographic for the whole night on the TNT network. They only lost to Major League Baseball, which is such a big achievement for a new show. And the fact of the matter is that this was the highest rated premiere that TNT had had in over 5 years, which goes to show you how good Dynamite really is. AEW's Dynamite would beat WWE's NXT for 7 weeks in a row, which is amazing. And let's just take a step back for a second just to see. This is the first time in wrestling history that a company has come up from the ground up at such a high level. Their very first show, they drew 14,000 people and they debuted on one of the biggest networks in the world, TNT. So let's just appreciate what AEW has done. Because of them, there's been a wrestling boom. Wrestling is cool again because of these people. There's a buzz in the business that wasn't there for almost 20 years. So we should appreciate their efforts. So you guys should follow them on their social media channels. Follow the Young Bucks YouTube channel called Being the Elite, where all this revolution really started. And do watch the rest of the show because we're going to tell you about AEW's Dynamite and subsequent Dynamites leading to their pay-per-view Full Gear. And this was their first pay-per-view that had a television build. So do check it out.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Last Man Standing. And today we're going to be discussing AEW's debut edition of their weekly show Dynamite and the subsequent shows that followed leading up to their pay per view Full Gear.
Exactly, and it all started with Cody Rhodes taking on Sammy Guevara in the very first match in Dynamite's history, which Cody won, and kind of set the tone for what kind of show Dynamite's going to be. Fast paced, action oriented, and the action in bell to bell was second to none. We also saw Riho defeat Nyla Rose and become the very first AEW Women's Champion. So history already being made on Dynamite. In the main event, we saw Kenny Omega teaming up with the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, taking on Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz in a six-man tag match. And this is where we witnessed the return of John Moxley, who made a beeline for Kenny Omega again and gave him a paradigm shift on a glass coffee table. And not only that, we saw the debut of Jake Hager, who completely laid waste to the elite. He beat up Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, and the Young Bucks, and this led to a start of a storyline between two factions, two groups, the Inner Circle and the Elite. The Inner Circle was led by Le Champion, Chris Jericho, the Spanish God Sammy Guevara, Santana Ortiz, and Jake Hager as the enforcer, taking on the Elite for control of all Elite Wrestling.
That's right. This rivalry was really building up and really heating up. And also, another rivalry heating up was in the tag team division because there was a tag team tournament to determine the first ever AEW tag team champions. And the first round was between Private Party and Young Bucks, with Private Party coming out on top. It was a bit surprising for all of us. But the other matches in round one were Lucha Brothers beating the Jurassic Express and SCU beating the Best Friends, and the Dark Order getting a first round by going straight to the semi-final. And in the semi-final, SCU ended up beating Dark Order, being the first team in the final, and the Lucha Brothers beat Private Party and reached the final as well. Now the final, we thought that the Lucha Brothers kind of deserved it. They should have been the first ever tag team champions, but credit to SCU, they became the first ever AEW World Tag Team Champions. That wasn't it though, because Lucha Brothers immediately challenged them for a rematch at Full Gear for the tag team titles, and it was going to be a triple threat tag team match because Private Party were going to be a part of that match as well.
Yeah, exciting time for the tag team divisions. But speaking of champions, Chris Jericho had his very first title defense on Dynamite against the upstart Darby Allin in a no DQ match, which Jericho won thanks to the help of Jake Hager. But other than that, Cody Rhodes had emerged as another number one contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship and would be challenging Chris Jericho at Full Gear. The rivalry between Jericho and Cody was really heating up because we saw Cody's inner circle of Dustin Rhodes, MJF, and Diamond Dallas Page, his mentor, having an all out brawl with the inner circle backstage. This led to a contract signing between Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes, which saw Jake Hager ambush Dustin Rhodes and break his arm. And this led to the go home edition of Dynamite, where Cody Rhodes announced that should he lose to Chris Jericho, he will never ever challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship ever again. And it was delivered in such a heartfelt promo. You know, the best promos I've seen in a while. And the biggest compliment I can give him is that he talked fans into watching his match, into buying the pay per view. So if you people love a good promo, I urge you to watch it. Other than that, we saw the Young Bucks accept the challenge of Santana and Ortiz to a match at Full Gear, which further continued the storyline of the Inner Circle taking on the Elite.
That's right. I mean, really interesting times, and some of the other matches that were happening, some of the other rivalries that were building was John Moxley versus Kenny Omega, which Tony Khan decided that would be an unsanctioned match at Full Gear because they're just two hardcore guys, and they had to keep it a lights out match just because it was going to be too hardcore. And Joey Janela was facing, what's his name?
Sean Spears.
So Joey Janela was facing Sean Spears, and Joey Janela is a personal favorite, and that match is going to be quite exciting as well.
Yeah, and Pac would be renewing his rivalry with Hangman Page, and this was said to be one hell of a match at Full Gear. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. These are the major storylines coming into Full Gear, and here is the final match card of the pay-per-view. We have B Priestley taking on Dr. Britt Baker in a singles match. We've got Proud and Powerful Santana and Ortiz taking on the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and we've got Adam Page taking on Pac in a singles match as well.
Yeah, that's right. And we've also got Joey Janela facing Sean Spears and SCU defending their tag titles in a triple threat tag match against Lucha Brothers and Private Party.
We've also got the women's title on the line as Riho defends against her mentor Emi Sakura, and we've also got Chris Jericho defending the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against Cody Rhodes, and the unofficial main event of the evening sees Kenny Omega taking on John Moxley in an unsanctioned match. So that's it for today's episode of Last Man Standing. Be sure to check out our next video where we bring you the aftermath of AEW's Full Gear, and we'll bring you up to date on what's been happening on Dynamite recently. In the meantime, do like, comment, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any queries or questions regarding AEW, do let us know in the comments below or reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram, wherever you feel comfortable. And we'll be sure to answer any doubts that you may have. Till then, we are the last man standing, signing off.